Did you know you can locate the 9 muses in your birth chart? Well, I'm here to tell you all about it. Definitely keep watching if you consider yourself to be a pretty creative and artistic person. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Hannah and welcome back, Cosmic Warriors. Before we do dive into today's video, if you want to learn more about astrology, then head on over to the Cosmic Check-In podcast. And if you would like to book a reading with me, then go to hannahselsewhere.com. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm very excited about sharing this information. Let's do this. Alright, so what exactly do I mean by the 9 muses? Firstly, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a muse? You know, someone who inspires your art, your creations, your style, a person you maybe look up to, or someone who has helped you be where you are today creatively. Perhaps you consider yourself to be a creative person, a pretty artistic person. You are continuously inspired by many people, by many art forms. This is where the muses in your birth chart come in. Now, in ancient Greek mythology, the 9 muses were goddesses of creative inspiration. They inspired literature, science, and the arts, and were fountains of knowledge, my goodness. Now, the story goes that they were the daughters of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory. In one version of the myth, Zeus disguised himself as a shepherd to sleep with Mnemosyne. They slept together for 9 nights in a row, and each night one of the muses was conceived. Now, they were all born in Perea at Mount Olympus. Later, the muses were given over to Apollo and a nymph called Nepheme, which, by the way, my pronunciations, I do apologize if I'm incorrect. Now, sometimes the muses are referred to as water nymphs. It is said that Pegasus touched his hooves to the ground on Helicon, causing 4 sacred springs to burst forth. The muses were also known as Pegasides, and it is also said that Apollo taught the muses a great deal about how to really express their gifts, how to share their gifts, which I find to be really, really fascinating because Apollo is associated with the sun in astrology, and it is through the sun that we express ourselves, right? Suggesting the importance of the sun in combination with the muses in your chart. So just keep that in mind. Remember your sun sign in combination with the muses that you locate today. Though, before we explain each of the muses, there is something else of importance to bring up. There were also 3 original muses worshipped in ancient Greece. They were Ade, song, Neme, memory, and Melite, meditation. But the 9 muses, who are they? We have Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, Clio, the muse of history, Erato, the muse of love poetry, Euterpe, the muse of music, Melpomene, the muse of tragedy, Thalia, the muse of comedy, Urania, the muse of astronomy and astrology, Polyhymnia, the muse of hymns and sacred poetry, and lastly, Terpsichore, the muse of dance. Also, I will place the codes for the muses on the screen as I go through them. So what you want to do is just go to the extended chart selection on astro.com, and then you enter the codes manually to locate the asteroids. Yes, I will present the information, which, by the way, you might find this video to be helpful if you are a creative person, if you're an artist, a writer, a dancer, a poet, a lover of astrology, of course, even a comedian. Perhaps you're trying to get inspired, and so this video might help you because you'll be able to locate these muses, the 9 muses, in your own chart. And as I am going through these descriptions, when I say having a strong placement, I am referring to the asteroid. So having a strong Thalia placement, for example, I am referring to how that asteroid makes many aspects to your personal planets, as well as your angles, okay? So the AC, DC, IC, MC, and the orb I recommend using. First of all, I thought yes, 2 degrees, 4 degrees, but I'm actually sort of recognizing that maybe even we could push it to 6 max. But hey, every astrologer is different. Think about that for yourself. Plus, I just want to give a shout out, a massive shout out to the Tumblr gods, honestly, because there is not a lot of information out there about the muses, and Tumblr accounts have been amazing. I am, of course, going to link the sources, all of the sources that I used today throughout the video. I will link them down below. So yes, thank you to all the Tumblr astrologers and lovers out there. First up, we have Calliope. Calliope is known as the head of the muses, sort of like their leader, their chief. And she is also known for having a beautiful voice. She was the eldest of the 9 muses, and she had 2 sons with Apollo. And there's also some information out there to suggest that she was the mother of the sirens. Very interesting to think about, because the sirens are known for luring sailors to their deaths by enchanting them with their lovely voices. Now, Calliope also carries a stylus and a writing tablet. She was also depicted carrying a book or a roll of paper, a trumpet at times too. And after defeating the daughters of Piraeus in a singing match, she turned them into magpies as punishment. Now, Calliope is considered to be the wisest of the muses. She was the muse of epic poetry and eloquence. Now, if you have a strong Calliope placement, so meaning that Calliope makes significant aspects to your personal planets and angles, you might have a beautiful singing voice, or you're gifted with your words. You're gifted at presenting information, writing, poetry, storytelling, songwriting as well, script writing, speeches, right? Writing speeches. Others may enjoy listening to you speak. Or perhaps you're told that you have a pretty soothing voice, a pleasing voice, all right? Interestingly, famous writer Stephen King, for example, was born with Calliope in Leo, making a sextile to Neptune in Libra, adding to his Pluto in Leo sextile Mercury in Libra placements. And he writes about darker stories, and he's great at it too. And in Leo, just what a creative writer he is. Consider how many people have been inspired by his work. He is a muse for many other writers, and perhaps it could also be suggested that Stephen King was inspired by other writers that came before him, right? Also think about the likes of Roald Dahl, okay? So he was born with Calliope in Aries, conjunct the moon in Aries. Neptune conjunct Venus in Leo, I think, also massively contributes to his work. So he possessed writing gifts, really centered to cater to children. So of course he was the author of many children's books. Now for me, Calliope is in Gemini, conjunct the midheaven in my chart, and I love writing. I love speaking. I love presenting information to people, as you can probably tell. Though I'm not sure I would say I'm good at it, Maybe with Calliope trine Saturn in my chart, I am learning to practice my writing skills, my presenting skills, my communication skills in this regard. Next up, then we have Clio. So Clio, she is known as the proclaimer, which means to announce or declare publicly. She was depicted with a tablet or scrolls and a trumpet. And the name Clio means to recount or make famous, interestingly. Clio is the muse of history, and so her specialty is working with past events. Therefore, could it be suggested that we see a strong Clio placement in the charts of famous historians? And Clio was also considered to be the creator of the guitar, according to some sources. So to think about some examples here, British author Graham Hancock has Clio in Leo, conjunct his sun in Leo, and Graham writes about ancient civilizations and lost lands. Then we have the French historian Fernand Braudel. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But he had Clio in Cancer, sextile the sun in Virgo. And he was, okay, so I'm just taking this from a source, he was the author of several major works that traversed borders and centuries and introduced a new conception of historical time. For me, Clio is in Sagittarius in my chart, and it's not making any significant aspects to my personal planets or angles. But when it comes to learning about history, for me, it needs to be taught in a more enthusiastic way. I also want to try and understand the bigger picture. But yeah, I think it needs to be more creative for me in order for me to maybe grasp the information. Next up, we have Erato. So Erato is the muse of romance and romantic poetry, erotic poetry as well. And she is often depicted with a wreath of roses and myrtle. And she is also shown with a golden arrow from Eros, aka Cupid. You could say that Erato is the most love-related muse, right? And in some images, she is accompanied by Eros. And she even has two little doves by her feet. How cute. So, is this to suggest that people with a strong Erato placement in their chart, well, that they are quite romantic, poetic, erotic, sensual? Perhaps they make for great erotic writers and novelists. Or it's that they are amazing songwriters, love songwriters, and singers. Perhaps they even have a very soothing and desirable voice. So here's something super interesting. The author of 50 Shades of Grey, E.L. James, was born with Erato in Scorpio, creating a trine to Jupiter in Pisces. And she has written many erotic romance novels. And another erotic author, Sylvia Day, has Erato in Virgo, opposite Venus in Pisces. Both of these writers that I talk about here, both have sun in Pisces, right? They were born during Pisces season. And think about Pisces. Pisces is about fantasy, right? How fascinating. Now, in my chart, Erato is in Capricorn, conjunct Mars, making a sextile to Pluto in Scorpio in the third. So could there be something there to tap into? A possible talent, a possible interest? Who knows? Perhaps erotic novels would interest me. Next up, we have Euterpe. She is the muse of music and lyrical poetry. Her name translates to giver of delight. And it is said that she developed many musical instruments. She is essentially a muse of musical creators, and she is depicted wearing a crown of flowers, carrying a double piccolo. She is also at times seen with drums, the guitar, the violin. Yes, she is the muse of music. Therefore, could it be suggested that people with a strong Euterpe placement may be great musicians, songwriters, composers? So, some examples. First up, I looked up Mozart. And Mozart was born with Euterpe in Aquarius with his Aquarius placements. Very interesting. And then also to make things more modern, Lana Del Rey was born with Euterpe in Capricorn opposite Mars in Cancer. She has significant Cancer placements. And then of course we have Billie Eilish, who was born with Euterpe in Virgo, creating a square to Venus in Sagittarius. So those are just a few different examples of some famous composers / musicians. In my chart, Euterpe is in Sagittarius, sextile Mercury in Aquarius, and when I was a kid, I enjoyed writing songs. Not to say that in any way, shape or form I'm gifted at it. No. And also, I cannot play any instruments. Just when I was a kid, playing instruments, writing songs, writing music, certainly interests of mine, but I didn't stick at it. I didn't really stick at it. But I still would say that those kinds of activities interest me. Moving on, we have Melpomene. Now, Melpomene is the muse of tragedy. And apparently, Melpomene means to sing, to celebrate with dance and song. She is depicted holding a tragic sword or a mask, and she is one of two muses of theatre. And at the beginning, she was known as the muse of singing and musical harmony. Now, according to myth, Melpomene had everything, right? She's known to have anything and everything she could possibly ask for, yet she still felt sad. She still felt like something was missing. Therefore, could it be suggested that people with a strong Melpomene in their chart, they are theatre kids, theatre lovers, drama enthusiasts, satire comedians, dancers, singers, actors. Maybe especially they tend to write about or sing about tragedy. Maybe they look at really tragic events as sources of inspiration in a way. So, some examples. We have Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson, amazing dancer, performer, born with Melpomene in Virgo, conjunct Pluto, and then Pluto also makes a conjunction with the Sun in his chart. Patrick Swayze, yes, he of course is known for his role in Dirty Dancing. He had Melpomene in Libra, conjunct Neptune in his chart. And we also see here ballerina Anna Pavlova. Well, she was born with Melpomene in Aries, trine Moon in Leo. So yeah, those performance qualities. Melpomene is in Aquarius in my chart, but it doesn't make any significant aspects to any of my personal planets or angles. I hope you are enjoying this video so far, and if you're finding it to be helpful, then please be sure to like the video and to subscribe for more. And if you're interested in learning how to read your birth chart simply, you can pick up a copy of my astrology cheat sheets. The link is down below. Thank you so much. Next up, Polyhymnia. Polyhymnia is the muse of lyric and sacred poetry, dance, geometry, pantomime, and eloquence. She is one of many songs. She is said to transform faith into music by imbuing hymns with this ethereal touch effect. She is also depicted wearing a veil and carrying agricultural instruments. Therefore, perhaps people with a strong Polyhymnia placement in their chart make for great choir singers, poets, dancers, scientists, actors. There is a popular and well-respected pantomime actor from Belfast named John Lennon. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Linehan. And he was born with Polyhymnia conjunct Uranus in Leo in his chart. Then also we see here Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was born with Polyhymnia in Virgo, trine Mars and Taurus. And of course, we also see here scientist Marie Curie. Well, she was born with Polyhymnia in Scorpio with all of her Scorpio placements, which I thought was very, very fascinating. In my chart, Polyhymnia is in Leo, opposite Mercury in Aquarius. And there are a few ideas in my mind for future series. Let's just put it that way. I would love to create a series about sacred geometry. I really would. But hey, who knows? Who knows what the future has in store? We will see. Next up, we have Thalia. So Thalia is the muse of comedy. She is depicted carrying a mask of comedy, a trumpet as well, and her name means flourishing or joyous. She inspires comedy and poetry. The praises in her songs were said to carry through time. Therefore, people with a strong Thalia placement in their chart, well, they may be great comedians, or the very least, they have a great sense of humor. Comedian Chris Rock, for example, was born with Thalia in Sagittarius, sextile Mercury in Aquarius. He's known for saying pretty controversial things at times, but then again, a lot of that could be said as he's just telling the truth too. Then we have Dave Chappelle. Yes, he was born with Thalia in Scorpio, sextile Sun in Virgo. And then British comedian Ricky Gervais was born with Thalia in Capricorn, trine Pluto in Virgo, and his humor, it's very dry, very, very dry. In my chart, and this is something I find to be really interesting, Thalia is in Aquarius, conjunct Mercury and the Sun in Aquarius, right? And I am not a very funny person. No. I mean, I laugh at myself at times. But people do not laugh at my jokes or find me funny. I would not say that. Maybe it's because I've got Virgo placements. Maybe they clash with things because I overthink things. I kind of think that you need to be quick-witted to be funny. Maybe if I had more Gemini placements versus Virgo placements, I would be more funny. But I'm not. I don't have those placements. It really can take me a long time to get the joke. Next up then we have Terpsichore, which I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I do apologize if I'm not. But Terpsichore is the muse of lyric poetry. Her name means delight in dancing, and she is associated with light poetry and dancing. She is known for being lighthearted and is shown wearing a crown of flowers. Now, some sources do say that it was actually Terpsichore who was the mother of the sirens. Okay, we said at the beginning that there's some sources that state it was Calliope. But also, she is linked to choir singing. So could it be that people with a strong Terpsichore placement make for great choir singers, dancers, poets? Famous poet Maya Angelou was born with Terpsichore in Gemini, the same sign as her North Node, interestingly. Of course, North Node is tied to purpose, our direction in this life. And then William Shakespeare was born with Terpsichore in Capricorn, also the same sign as his North Node, the same degree as well, just adding to the potency. And then Emily Dickinson was born with Terpsichore in Pisces. sextile Chiron in Taurus. In my chart, Terpsichore is in Libra, making a square to Mars in Capricorn and then a trine to the Sun in Aquarius. And I do not consider myself to be poetic, but I do enjoy writing. And as a kid, I would have written the odd poem. I just think as a kid, I dabbled a lot, I guess. Maybe that speaks to my Gemini influence more so, right? Because Calliope is in Gemini in my chart. Yeah, I dabbled into different areas. Also, I would say with this one, I like to dance more. I enjoy dancing. I love to dance. If I could take classes on how to do it a bit better and a lot better, because I wouldn't say I'm a good dancer, but if I could take classes, I would definitely go for it, I think. Also, I did sing. I did sing in the school choir growing up, and I enjoyed that. Thinking about this now, I would say that singing would be my favorite, then dancing would come after, and then writing. Those would be my top three, I think. Oh, I do like acting as well. Maybe acting would come after writing. But those four sort of areas, they've always interested me. Okay, so lastly, Urania. Urania is the heavenly muse. The muse of astronomy and astrology, the muse of the stars, okay? She is the youngest of the 9 muses. I love it. Her attributes are the globe and the compass. And so you can probably guess that people with a strong Urania placement, they make for awesome astrologers, great astronomers, astrophysicists, scientists. It is also said that the planet Uranus is named after Urania. And I also think that a strong combo of both Polyhymnia and Urania make for people who are really into mixing science and spirituality. So let's give thanks to some astronomers and astrologers. Galileo, born with Urania in Aries, trine Uranus in Sagittarius. Johannes Kepler, born with Urania in Cancer opposite Uranus in Capricorn. Nicholas Copernicus was born with Urania in Aries, trine Jupiter in Sagittarius. Carl Sagan was actually born with Urania in Aquarius, conjunct the North Node in Aquarius. And lastly, we have William Lilly, born with Urania in Libra, conjunct Jupiter in Libra. Now in my chart, Urania is in Sagittarius, creating a sextile with the Sun in Aquarius. And hey, I love astrology. So, where are the muses in your chart? Let us know. What have you discovered? I hope you have found this video to be helpful and that you learned something new. I know for me, I got really excited learning about this topic, this area. And if you did find this video to be helpful, you can always buy me a coffee. But with all that being said, stay tuned for more. Thank you for, of course, watching today's video, and I will catch you in the next one.